Well, Coasters, it's Bruce here, and today got another interview with a Kiwi passport, and he lives in Melbourne. That's the photograph in behind me there. Beautiful city, lovely place. Now, Malcolm's had a mum and dad living in Invercargill, and on December the 23rd, his dad passed away. And the story that he's got to tell about the terrible way he's been treated, the frustrations of trying to work through MIQ, and the journey to Monday having to attend his dad's funeral by Zoom. It's not right. So he misses the chance to grieve with his mum, his family. He misses the chance to be a pallbearer. And as he says in his interview, he's so disgusted that a DJ or the Wiggles or sporting people have no trouble getting into the country. And yet people with extreme, exceptional circumstances are tick box treated. Sorry, we don't want you to go to your dad's funeral because there's a lot of people gathering there and it could spread COVID. And we look at the music festivals, 10,000 people. We look at the AMP shows, and we look at all of the gatherings of people that are, thank goodness, occurring around New Zealand. And he's told, I'm sorry, your dad, the loss of your dad, it's just not important to us. All of us who have lost a parent, a dad, know the pain that you go through. So I'd like to introduce you to Malcolm Mitchell from Melbourne, and he'll tell his story. It's too late to do anything to help him. I've expressed our condolences on behalf of all of us, but meet Malcolm Mitchell. Well, Coasters, it's Bruce here, and the scene you can see in behind me is that beautiful city of Melbourne. And that's where Malcolm Mitchell, who's our guest today, has been living for a wee while. He's so lucky. And of course, Melbourne has made the news a bit of late. But enough of that. Let's not talk about tennis. As you know, I'm a bit of a fan. Let's move on. Malcolm, welcome to the show, first of all.
Thank you, Bruce. Thanks for your time and thanks for including me in this.
Now, you're a Kiwi?
I am. I was born in Invercargill, raised in Invercargill, lived in Christchurch for a couple of years and then moved across the ditch.
Where's that southern twang that you fellas down there had?
I don't know, the R, rolling of the R. Yeah, I lost that somehow. Purple.
That's great, isn't it?
Yeah,
now, looking at, you've sent your story through. You're one of, well over 100 that I've received in the last 4 or 5 days. How about telling us, if you can, your story?
Okay, thanks, Bruce. Well, as you say, I'm born in New Zealand, but I've lived in Melbourne for quite a while now. My parents are still in Invercargill. I've got a sister and a niece back in New Zealand. My parents went into care about 5 years ago, so I've been able to make some regular trips over there the time I've been here. I've decided that if I'm living in Melbourne, I really want to spend a bit of time with family in New Zealand, so have scheduled time every year to do that. So we're lucky enough to be over there in March 2020, and just as the borders were closing, we were able to get out and get back into Australia, and have had quite a few trips booked since, which have been cancelled. But Fortunately, I was able to get over there in May 2021 for a short visit to see my mum and my dad, who was declining in health. But unfortunately, I was actually booked to go around the Christmas holidays. So, but of course that was cancelled. So, but unfortunately on the 23rd of December, my father passed away, and I've been sort of looking at ways so I can get over to the funeral, and it's been hard. It's really been impossible, I think, to get over there. The COVID, the MIQ allocations, I think there was one on the 21st of December, and the next one was actually today. So we had to, you're aware of the process where you have to book a room, and it's sometimes months in advance. And I thought this is not going to be practical for a funeral. So I've applied to have an emergency or an exemption. I got a few generic emails back, not really addressing my circumstances at all. But the reply I got back was, as previously stated, exemptions are approved only in rare circumstances. Yeah. Can you see me now?
Okay,
I'm back on now.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Okay, so the reply I got, as previously stated, exemptions are approved in rare circumstances, can only be approved where we are confident that the health risk of transmission is very low. Furthermore, as stated on the website, we are unlikely to approve applications under exceptional circumstances category to attend a funeral where there may be multiple people gathered. This would create an unacceptable risk of potential COVID-19 transmission. Now, I received that around about the same time when the news story came out about the DJ that had come in from the UK to attend a music festival and was out in the community with Omicron. Okay, so that really made my blood boil. I thought, okay, the government aren't being upfront with us here. The government have said that they'll let New Zealanders back into the country, and I know I'm not the only one in this situation. I feel for others that can't go to their parents' funerals. I feel for others that are stranded overseas that can't get back into New Zealand, but they're not being upfront with us on this one.
Malcolm, it's quite dishonest the way it's happening. And first of all, can I say from all of New Zealanders, really sorry to hear about your dad passing.
Thank you.
All of us who have been down that track, and we all will one day, know how hard it is, and of course you're losing a big part of your life, and you want to be there to say that final goodbye. It's so important. But treating you like you're something else, like you're not a Kiwi, is just terrible. So what sort of progress have you made from there? Have they brought in the compassion, the caring, and the,
No, there's none of that. That response I got was pretty cold, I thought. They made it clear they're not going to let someone in for a funeral. If I'd followed the whole MIQ process, it would be months. There was an allocation today that I found out last night was actually blocked from Australians can't apply to that one. Correct. So there are people that were hoping to get on that today that in Australia that can't get on. I read on Facebook there was one person who had 5,025 people in front of them for an allocation of 1,250 rooms. So, they're not trying to help people get back to New Zealand at all. They said before Christmas that they can't stop people from New Zealand citizens from coming back to New Zealand, but it seems that they are making it harder and harder, and they're certainly not providing any compassion for exceptional circumstances.
The New Zealand passport guarantees you the right to enter and exit New Zealand, and that's it. And the Bill of Rights guarantees it. There is a clause there that says that if in the event of a pandemic or something similar, a government can make a temporary measure, but that's 22 months ago. And And in the meantime, there's 1 million Kiwis live offshore. There's 30,000 trying to get on to that MIQ list to come through the country. I've interviewed people in the last few days who have been numbered 27,500 and 28,600. I mean, it's just despair, isn't it? I mean,
it's disgraceful. Yeah, it's it's really sad what they're doing, and people in other countries can't believe how that they're blocking people from coming into, citizens from coming back into New Zealand. So it's not really acceptable, and it hurts when they're letting other non-citizens in as essential workers, they call them.
Well, we have DJs, the Wiggles, various sporting codes. I've been unable to find a minister who has a relative offshore that's had trouble getting in. I don't know how that works, but I've been unable to find one. We have a government that talks about being caring and compassionate.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, we're absolutely ignoring our 1 million people offshore, and a big proportion of them will be able to vote, or will know 30 people in New Zealand who do vote. And I'll tell you what, the time of reckoning will probably come.
Hope it does. Even though I've been living in Melbourne for quite a while now, I've still kept my New Zealand citizenship. I still have a tie with the country. I still consider it my homeland. I still enjoy visiting there. But yeah, the way I've been treated lately, it doesn't feel like home anymore.
Malcolm, what's it like in Melbourne? I mean, we see a lot on the news about Melbourne and Australia generally. What's it like, day to day, travelling around?
Yeah, I'll go back a few months, Bruce, and just explain what happened here. Well, Melbourne has had the longest lockdowns in the world. We've gone through our fair share of lockdowns. They probably haven't been as strict as New Zealand lockdowns. Takeaway places have been open, supermarkets, but most retail has been closed. But back in September, the government here laid out a roadmap, said we're going to get out of this. This is what we're going to achieve when we get 70% people vaccinated. This is what we're going to achieve when we get 80% people vaccinated and 90% vaccinated. And that was the roadmap to opening up, and they did open up. We are open up at the moment. Now, there's a lot of cases here at the moment. There's Omicron in the community, but look, the government have sort of kept to their word on that one. Give them credit. I'm not partisan on any way. I take each government as they are and what decisions they make, but I can say that we are open up at the moment. Retail's open, and they've really decided to get on with life. I mean, COVID is here for a while. It's not going to go away in a hurry. New Zealand seems to have the strategy that they want to get rid of COVID altogether. And then I'm wondering what they want to do. Do they want to open up again? And as soon as they do, they're going to let COVID back in again. So I don't know what the strategy is. New Zealand, as far as I know, reached 90% fully vaccinated in middle of December. And I was quite disappointed when they announced before Christmas that they weren't opening up for Christmas because, first of all, I was booked there, but I thought, well, if they're not going to open up for that time of the year where families want to be together, when are they going to open up? And of course, that's been extended since as well. So I don't think the New Zealand government have got a roadmap to get out of this. I think they just seem to want to lock down the country forever. And that's it's not very assuring if you're trying to plan something, plan to go over there. I mean, the funeral for me was something you can't plan. These things just happen, and you've got to react and try and get over there as soon as you can. But I was completely blocked. Incredible.
When is the funeral?
It's on Monday. We've managed to delay it a little bit, but we really can't delay it anymore. I mean, so we can't delay it until April or March, May or something like that. It's probably when I would get over next.
No, your dad will want to leave. His time's come.
Yeah, it has.
And so, Zoom? for the funeral?
Yeah, and that's the reason. And that's one of the reasons we've delayed it, because in Invercargill there's a couple of people that do live streams, and they're all on holidays at the moment, so they'll be back on the 10th of January, and hopefully I can get on and say something via Zoom. But it's not quite the same as being there. I can't be with my mum and my sister and my niece. I can't be a pallbearer for Dad's coffin. It's just not. Look, it's good, but it's not the same. It's not. It's one event that I think anyone would want to be at their parents' funeral.
And a funeral is a time where people grieve. It's part of what we do. You've got to be able to grieve, and you can't grieve sitting watching a TV screen or a computer screen.
No, it's not the same, Bruce. Yeah. Look, I was wanting to go over there for that sole purpose. I don't want to walk the Milford track. I don't want to go bungee jumping. The government doesn't seem to get the difference between someone who wants to just go for a funeral, be with family, to being a tourist.
And this talk of not wanting people to get together for a funeral, but it's okay to have 300,000 people outside Parliament. It's okay for us to have a pop concert.
Have a music festival with 10,000 people with an overseas DJ. I don't.
Absolutely.
That's just contradictory to what they said. And look, I'm not against DJs and things, but look, the government they've got to get their priorities right. They can't just let non-citizens in, call them essential workers, and deny access to citizens for a funeral.
It's crazy. And look, Malcolm, I can tell you're well experienced. If you had some advice to give to all of those people that are sitting there in the system, frustrated, some in real despair, some who, I've rung a couple and they've been in tears, and I think if you had some advice to them, one of the things I've been saying is, look, we as ordinary Kiwis, actually, we really care. We really care about you guys. We care about your circumstances, and we care about getting you home. What's your advice?
Look, I really feel sorry for. There's people like myself who can't go to funerals, and I'm not the only one for sure. No, there's many people like that, and I really feel for you at this time. But there's many people that are stuck in transit that have to be back in New Zealand for a certain time. They've maybe been overseas for a certain period of time, but they need to be back in New Zealand. And they're being stuck in overseas in at least I'm at my home in Melbourne here, but they're stuck in transit. And today was another blow.
Terrible.
For people trying to get back to New Zealand, trying to allocate a spot through MIQ. It was just another blow that they just don't need to have at this stage. I really feel for them. Yeah,
I found this morning I've had 2 emails from people on the Gold Coast, both in their 80s. Their pension's been cut because they can't get back to New Zealand. They've dropped their rental accommodation. The circumstances are terrible, and they've compounded. They're in Australia, and of course, Aussie doesn't look after Kiwis when they're stuck there. It's up to them. And of course, we're the same here. And the only reason they're not back home is because of our government.
Yeah. The government's not letting them in.
What's the requirement to get into Australia? How does someone from another country get into Australia?
I'm not too sure at the moment, but it has been relaxed, Bruce. It's I don't know if there's a requirement to quarantine very much at the moment. It's certainly not like MIQ. We had the hotel quarantine system here, which had its faults, and in some ways that was where people got COVID as well, being with other people who had COVID. With nothing, there was a few bungles there, but they've sort of moved away from that, and I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it's certainly not 10 days and stuck in a hotel room. We did travel interstate to Queensland over Christmas, and they have just opened up their borders, but the requirement then was to get a positive test 3 days before, which we did, and get another positive test on day 5, which we did as well. So, look, I don't mind getting tests. I think the New Zealand government should definitely take precautions, but they shouldn't be unreasonable about this.
And that's really what it comes down to. So, look, in the unlikely event that a government minister or the Prime Minister or someone is watching this this segment, what's your message?
Be compassionate to your citizens. Not all your citizens are living in New Zealand. Not all can just travel down the road to a parent's funeral. There are exceptional circumstances which the government should be compassionate about. You really haven't addressed this on this occasion.
Drop the ball.
Mm.
Well, look, Malcolm Mitchell from that magnificent city of Melbourne, thank you so much for joining us. Once again, our thoughts will be with you on Monday at your dad's funeral.
Thank you.
And we wish you the very best going forward. Let's hope that you speaking out will encourage others to speak out and somebody will listen.
Yeah, thanks, Bruce. And just in closing, I just want to say that I did support the government at one stage. I thought they were doing a great job, but I'm on their Facebook page, Jacinta's Facebook page, and I joined because I actually thought they were doing a good job, but that view has changed quite a bit lately. I did put a post on New Year's Eve. I put a post to say the Kiwis stuck overseas who can't be with close family or attend funerals are grateful for your hard work to allow overseas DJs to come to keep music festivals running, which is a bit of a tongue-in-cheek sort of comment, but hopefully it got the message across. And people who follow that page are mainly supporters, but a lot of people were quite, I think, reacted quite well to that post, thinking, okay, and hopefully made them think that, okay, this is not fair. And but look,
so did it get a lot of comments?
Yeah, look, a lot of positive comments, but also you get the negative ones like, oh, you shouldn't have gone overseas, or why didn't you come back sooner? You know, it's like these ones, they just don't understand.
Oh, we don't take too much notice of Facebook trolls. Some people live their life on it, just throwing stones.
Yeah.
There's a big button on our computer. It's called delete and then ban, and it's I grin every time I do it. There's nothing better than banning someone who's a plonker. But look, Malcolm, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it, and let's keep in touch because hey, you've got our contact details.
I have.
I really love the way you presented your story, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Bruce. It's been a pleasure talking to you today.
Catch you later.
Okay, thank you.
Well, Coasters, what did you think of that? Well spoken, very accurate. And what were the major points that Malcolm made? Some things I took out of it. We're not, at government level, a caring and compassionate government. Our people are. Our people care. We're not a team of 5 million. We never have been. We've got 1 million Kiwis offshore. We're a team of 6 million. 30,000 of them trying to get back into the country for all sorts of various reasons. And some of the reasons are the most important things that can occur in your lifetime. Like your mum dying, or your dad dying, close family and friends being killed in an accident. For heaven's sake, the doors have to be open for these people. We're depriving them of the right to grieve. We're depriving them of the rights that they have in their passport. We're depriving them of their rights under the Bill of Rights, the right to enter and leave New Zealand. Now, we all accept that there are times when government has to legislate, as ours properly did when COVID first hit. But that was 22 months ago. And now it's simply about control, control, control. For what purpose? I've no idea. Do you? So as you can see, this particular interview sort of got me a bit, because reminded me of when my father died, and I'm sure others will find the same. But New Zealand's got to get its act together at government level. We are causing so much grief and hardship and pain and mental health stress to tens of thousands of New Zealanders, because it's not only people like Malcolm who are impacted. What about his rallies in Invercargill? What about his mum? What about the wider family? For heaven's sake, we've got to get our act together. Now, I don't expect government will do anything about it, but you and I, we can. Share the story, let people know, because that way, when the chance comes to make some changes, you'll have a reason for doing it. Catch you later.